Hi folks, this is all the fruit. And this field here used to be a beautiful ancient mulberry orchard. We are here near my village of Kumarite, where my grandfather comes from, in the Balkan Mountains. Beautiful landscape, lots of small-scale tourism, and yeah, if you are lucky you find beautiful ancient trees. And right here, there used to be a whole orchard of them. I don't remember this orchard. I remember when I was a little kid, like 3 or 4 years old. There was a row of ancient mulberry trees, over a meter thick, lying here along this dirt road on the slope. We used to climb around on them. They were like giant dinosaur skeletons or airplanes or ships or whatever you name it for us. They were gigantic for me when I was a child. I think several of them were well over a meter thick. And they used to grow here, in this area known as Luziata, or the vineyards. Well, I guess on this south-facing slope, yep, it was pretty good for growing wine, but also fruit trees. I saw a couple feral pears and apples here, and even a couple tickets of quinces, quince suckers. Yeah, and there was one mulberry tree which survived the death of the orchard. Why did the orchard die? Well, during socialism, the little villagers had trouble keeping enough people living there. They went to the cities, and so the socialists, they decided to do large-scale Soviet-style agriculture, which doesn't really fit those hills and mountains, but they did it. So they bulldozed the mulberries here, and they didn't even collect the timber. The mulberry wood was too hard, too tough for their chainsaws. They just bulldozed them and, yeah, kicked them here along this road, and nobody ever used them except us kids for climbing around. Beautiful ancient trees. By the way, the communists never did anything with this land. It was grazed by sheep and goats like everything else, like those forests and those bushy areas which they never cleared. And then, after the end of communism, the whole area got covered with shrubs, like this here. So these are not the original shrubs from when the orchard was there, but those are shrubs that have grown up in the last 30 years. Well, actually, the last 10 to 12 years, the European Union gave subsidies, and so the area is cleared again without being used for anything. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. It's good for the environment to have a couple meadows and open spaces. As you can see, pretty much everything has become forest. So yeah, it's good that we have those subsidies, but it's a pity that nobody uses it as pastures or as meadows. But that's not the end. When I was a little kid, like 40 years ago, there was one mulberry tree left. I was always quite angry that they left quite a puny mulberry tree. Must have been probably 100 or maybe 200 years old at the time, but it was still quite puny. Probably it was the same size as now, about 60 centimeters thick. Last time this tree was pruned was in the 50s and 60s, where my grandfather was breeding silkworms. He said that he pruned all the mulberry trees around the village for the silkworms. And now it died. Pity. Probably it died from drought or disease or whatever. However, there is a conspicuous hole here next to the tree, which is very typical for Bulgaria. I hope you can see this hole. It was made 30 years ago, but back then it was deep and narrow. And now it's wider and more shallow. Well, this was somebody looking for hidden treasure. It's in the national mentality of Bulgarians to look for hidden treasure and to suspect hidden treasure everywhere. So a couple people thought, look, they bulldozed away so many mulberry trees, but they left this one. They must be up to something. Well, they didn't think that this mulberry tree was so close to the dirt roads that it could be left. They bulldozed this because they wanted to plow the area and plant, I don't know, they used to plant a lot of corn and maize and raspberries around here and potatoes. One of those four probably. So this tree was left. This was the only tree left from this ancient orchard. It's not the biggest tree by far, so people didn't think they left it because it's right next to the road. They thought, no, they left it because they know that this tree marks hidden treasure. So 30 years ago, somebody dug this hole. There are rumors that they did find hidden treasure, so who knows, but there are such rumors all the time in Bulgaria. And who knows, maybe this all helped dry out the soil so much that now the last mulberry tree died about 40 years, more than 40 years after its friends from the same orchard. So rip ancient mulberry orchard. Stay away from treasure hunting, folks. Stay away from destroying old orchards in order to make fields or to get EU subsidies. As you see, at the end, it usually doesn't work out. Apart from that, stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from my beautiful and fruit-rich village of Kumarite in Bulgaria. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.